In our episode today, we will be discussing DNA. What is DNA?
Thanks so much for the question, Radwa. The DNA is composed of a long stretch of letters. These letters are commonly referred to as nucleotides. You can think of these letters as a string of information that our cells need to use in order to translate these letters into proteins. And proteins are really what dictates the type of a cell. So if you can think about a cell present in the pancreas, this cell secretes and synthesizes a lot of proteins, one of which is insulin. And these proteins dictate that this specific cell is a pancreatic cell. Another example is a melanocyte or a skin cell. That cell secretes and synthesizes many proteins, one of which is melanin, which is the pigment present in our skin that dictates our skin color. And so each of these proteins that our cells make are synthesized by translating a stretch of letters present in our DNA. Someone might ask, what does DNA stand for? It stands for the chemical composition of this long string of letters. DNA is short for deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, and it's present in human beings, in animals, plants, bacteria, some kinds of viruses in different forms.
Okay, so where is DNA located in the human body? Where would that be?
In the human body, every cell present in our body has a copy of our own DNA. So if you can think of it, if our bodies are composed of about 37 trillion cells, a trillion is a million million. And in every one of these 37 trillion cells, we have the same exact copy of DNA. At least we should have the same exact copy of DNA. There are some instances when some cells have a mutation or the DNA, the string of letters in that DNA changes, but that is the exception and typically results in some kind of disease. And within that cell, the cell that is invisible to our naked eye, there is a nucleus. Inside the nucleus, our DNA is compacted and tightly bound around proteins that make this DNA in the nucleus within it very, very tiny and small, such that we cannot see it with our naked eye. But if you imagine with me that we stretch out this compacted string of letters and unravel it from this compacted binding, this DNA will make up about 2 meters. So 2 meters of letters are compacted very tightly inside our nucleus. And they're organized into bodies known as chromosomes. So in every human cell, we have 23 chromosomes that we inherited from our mom and 23 chromosomes that we inherited from our dads.
Wow, 2 meters. That's about 6 feet thick.
Yeah,
That's a
exactly.
lot.
Longer than most humans, taller than most humans.
Wow. So is DNA the same across all cells? And is it the same across all humans?
Oh, that's a two-part question. Let's start with the first part. Is it the same across all cells? Inside our bodies, every cell has the same exact copy of DNA. It's a string of about 3 billion letters. And that copy should be exactly the same. And the thing that distinguishes the different cell types is really the proteins that are being synthesized from these letters. The second part of the question, is it the same across all humans? We know that across humans, our DNA is identical with 99.9% identity. So we only differ in 0.1% of our DNA, which is about 1 in every 1,000 letter.
So how did scientists know these differences and the sequence of all this DNA?
Yeah, ever since we discovered the structure of DNA, scientists have been really interested in determining the sequence of the letters present in our human DNA. So there was a project that started in 1990 and it stretched for about 13 years, where scientists from all across the world wanted to contribute to our understanding of DNA and deciphering our genetic code, which means determining the sequence of letters present in this DNA. There was this human genome project that originally started by getting DNA from blood donors. Most of these donors were originating in Buffalo, New York at the time. And as the years have progressed, we've improved our technologies for sequencing, and we've been able to sequence many, many, many more people. And by analyzing the DNA sequence present in the different humans that we've sequenced so far, we were able to get to this estimate of 99.9% identity across human beings.
Okay, so we need to have a special episode on DNA sequencing. I think that's a very interesting technology.
Absolutely, you bet.
Okay, so then why is it important to know the sequence of DNA?
Yeah, there are many reasons why we would want to know the sequence. It can help us diagnose genetic diseases or even discover novel genetic diseases. Sometimes certain families and people of certain heritages or ancestries tend to have genetic diseases that are inherited from generation to generation. But if we don't understand the cause and the reason behind this genetic disease, we can't really properly treat it. We can treat some of the symptoms, but we can't treat the underlying cause unless we better understand how this genetic disease originates. At the same time, knowing the sequence of the DNA can be very helpful if we want to determine the risk of acquiring a specific genetic disease, or, and this is something that I work in, determining the treatment options that cancer patients would most likely benefit from by deciphering and knowing the exact sequence and the letters of the DNA present in their cancer.
Thanks so much, Radwa.